You know how to book flights and hotels. All you're missing is a tool to plan the travel experiences you'll have once you arrive. That's why you need Viator. Book guided tours, activities, excursions, and more in one place to make your trip truly unforgettable. Viator has over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from. Everything from simple tours to extreme adventures and all the niche, interesting stuff in between. So you can plan something that everyone you're traveling with will enjoy. Real traveler reviews give the inside scoop from people who've already been on the experiences you're considering. So you can plan with confidence. Free cancellation helps you plan for the unexpected. And 24/7 customer support means you can travel worry-free. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator. What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
You can sense it calling out to you.
New reality seeks you.
Join the journey to save Anomaly.
Place where sound is magic. The only way to enter the world is by looking inward.
Along the way, you'll learn potions, chants, and enchantments that will help you both in that reality and yours.
So, answer the call and let your campaign begin.
Featuring the voices of Ruth Connell from Supernatural and Dead Boy Detectives.
There are ordeals ahead, yet with guidance, you will face them head on without fear.
Todd Stashwick from Star Trek Picard and 12 Monkeys.
When the time arrives, wherever your journey takes you, be there with no attachments.
And R&B singer N.C. Gray.
There are worlds, realms, dimensions, and realities beyond yours.
Anomaly is a role-playing meditation podcast that takes you into a world of magic and fantasy. You'll be invited to imagine yourself in scenarios such as learning to cast a tranquility spell or exploring a land vanquished by a dragon, but all connected by a shared mythology. The goal of guided fantasy role-playing meditations are to help you cultivate a sense of wonder, curiosity, balance, and joy in your inner world. Role-playing meditation is a form of escapism and relaxation, as well as a creative outlet for the imagination. The first campaign is an introduction to the world of Anomaly, its lands, magic, and secrets. In the 8 chapters, you'll stretch your imagination, learn to center yourself, offer forgiveness, find confidence, relieve stress, and stop racing thoughts. Your true self will emerge, allowing you to manage your goals and dreams without confusion, distrust, or self-doubt. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Or visit seekanomaly.com to learn more. Anomaly spelled with an I-E, not a Y.
Seek Anomaly. Hear its magic.
In 2005, 2 brothers hit the road to chase demons and fight monsters.
Fighting a couple of angels, too.
And eventually save the world.
A bunch of times. Over 15 years, this series has built one of the most dedicated fan bases in all of entertainment, and that fan base is near and dear to our hearts.
That's right. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
And you do a darn good job, too, buddy.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I'm Richard Spade Jr. I played Loki, the Trickster, and Gabriel, and I directed a bunch of episodes.
Wow, is that it?
I directed you. I don't know. What do you think?
Though we worked on the show for years, we never sat down and watched the entire series.
But that was then, and this is now.
That's right. We are watching each episode and inviting the actors, the writers, producers, and crew to join us in digging into the story, the characters, and the mythology.
These guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us. You're going to love those, and you're going to get our honest opinion about each and every episode. That's right. Those guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us, and each episode gets a full, honest, and unfettered review from Rob and Rich. And you get to learn a little bit about how TV is made. Lord knows we have.
A warning, there are spoilers. And don't get frustrated that we haven't caught details for multiple viewings or that we know what happens 3 seasons from now. This is the first time we're watching these episodes. And you're there for the ride as we watch with our virgin eyes.
Oh, that's creepy. Thanks for joining us on our journey as we deepen our understanding about why you love this series so much.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. This is Rob Benedict.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. This is Richard Spate.
And we're talking about Season 5, Episode 3, Free to Be You and Me.
Thank you for giving me permission, Rob. For so long, I feel you've been constraining who I really am, but now you're telling me I'm free to be me, and you're also free to be you. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
This is a new chapter in our relationship and in the podcast itself. What, in the spirit of that, freedom that you've just gifted me, is the title of the episode.
Coincidentally, it's Free to Be You and Me.
Meaning you're not going to charge us one dime to be ourselves. It's free.
Nope, it's all free.
That makes total sense. So now not only am I emotionally allowed to do what I want, I'm off the Benedict leash, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna charge me that tariff you're always imposing
that I usually do
when I want to be myself. Well, that's great.
And
now that we know we're not paying for it financially, and now that I know that I'm not in any kind of emotional shackle, tell me, won't you, what is the title of this episode?
Yeah, it's Free to Be You and Me is the title of the episode.
Coincidence, man.
So we're coincidence. Took us a while, but we got there. But you know what else? You know what isn't free? Rob's Dumb Notes. That's right. You can still buy Rob's Dumb Notes. It's a really cool notebook that they designed.
Yeah, but you can only write dumb things in it. That's the catch.
And you have to write dumb things. And the conceit of the notebook is that it's my notebook, but Rich is taking it and graffitied all over it. And it's pretty funny and realistic.
Yeah, pretty realistic.
So go to spnthenandnow.com where you'll find the notebook and other fun merch like stickers, T-shirts, and tote bags.
All such fun merch. And you know what you could put in that tote bag?
What?
Rob's Dumb Notebook.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just saying.
Which, again, is not free, but this episode is. Free to be you and me. I wonder what happens in it.
Well, I tell you what, there's one way to find out. You summarize the son of a bitch. Robbie, do your thing.
Here we go. You know, Sam dreams of Jessica.
Who doesn't dream of Jessica? I see your hand is raised, Rob.
Yeah.
Everybody dreams of Jessica.
However, in this dream, she's actually there with him in the bed. And she asks Sam why he's running. Sam says he's a freak and has a darkness in him.
That's kind of hot.
The brothers, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? nice play, Sammy.
So the brothers are now leading separate lives, hence the Free to Be You and Me. And Sam is settled in Garber, Oklahoma. Dean continues to hunt on the road. Castiel appears to Dean and asks him for his help to find the archangel Raphael, the one who killed Castiel.
That's the guy who shot Castiel's teeth into your hairdo.
That's right, exactly. I had to think to remember that. I'd forgotten that part, even though it was my house and my hairdo. So Castiel believes that Raphael is the key to finding God, and only God can defeat Lucifer. Well, meanwhile, Sam works at a bar and is connecting with a fellow bartender, Lindsay, who really, just from the beginning, she can't keep her eyes off him.
You know, she's got her, eyeball on Sammy, eyes him like a leg of lamb from day one.
Yeah. And
who's the new guy? You hear her saying to the girls in the kitchen. They don't have that scene in there, but she definitely said that at some point.
And if I had a nickel for every time she asked him for out to dinner in this episode,
or just stared at him.
Have dinner with.
I was very close to canceling Lindsay. I was like, hey,
His face.
Pay attention to your work, young lady.
Yeah. So he's connecting with her when he sees reports of suspicious weather on the TV. He calls Bobby, who sends 3 hunters to investigate. Meanwhile, Castiel and Dean are at a police station in Maine to question the sheriff about a gas station that blew up. They determined that Raphael was there. He's now at St. Pete's Hospital.
That again, we got to call out as we're doing our sort of conversation about the show while we summarize the show. That's a funny scene, man. From the second he's trying to get Castiel on board with lying to get what they want. And also, like, Castiel's thing, like, we'll just go in and say it was an angel and we need information. You're like, uh-huh. So that's a
really funny bit.
Really well done. And then the whole ID upside down and, everything about that sequence is great.
Yeah, he's great. And Misha's great in it. And it's a recipe for a sitcom. I mean, it's super funny, the two of them in this episode. Yeah. I know that Misha told us in our interview that it was, after a while, he thought it was a little much, but I just think it's hilarious.
I thought it was great. And also, it's really cool how this is establishing the new Dean Castiel rapport.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
This now becomes sort of the framework that they use going forward, which is cool.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, they go to this hospital and they find Raphael's vessel in a near vegetative state. I mean, he's really out of it. I think he might be slobbering.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely slobbering. I noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the hunters Bobby sent arrive at the bar Sam is working at. I think Lindsay's asking him to dinner when they come in, and they want his help with a demon crisis in the next town over. But Sam apologizes. He's sitting this one out.
I'll tell you what, those hunters haven't bathed in a while. Just going to point that out.
Quite dirty.
Real dusty bunch of fellas coming in that bar.
Also, I thought it was funny. They're like, all right, well, next time beer's on you, Sam, as opposed to this beer that you're having right now that I'm sure was also on Sam.
And they just they took one sip and walked out. Definitely not a Rob Benedict move.
No, I was going to say Richard Speight move because you're notorious for not letting there ever be a full beer on the table.
Yeah, never leave a full beer behind.
Yeah,
that's like, let's be honest, that's both of our moves.
It is. So back with Dean and Cass, who are visiting a brothel. Dean is trying to get the angel intercourse.
Whoa! Don't bury the headline. Visiting a brothel. What gives, Robbie?
So Dean and Cass go to a brothel because, Cass might die the next day. So Dean says, well, we need to get you laid, basically.
How 80s teen rom-com.
Exactly. So Dean is trying to get the angel intercourse once he found out Cassio was a virgin. So Angel Intercourse is the name of my new indie band.
Great band.
Castiel messes up the interlude,
he sure
to
does.
say the least, because he tells her about her why her father left and that what his name was and everything else.
I will say that Jensen's line, Dean's line, oh man, the whole broken father bit that's the backbone of this industry. The abandoned father. It kind of made me cringe a little bit. I mean, I know what they were going for, but it felt a little, I don't know, dated.
Oh, that whole thing. Like once you go to a brothel. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
It felt very 90s or 2009, as it were.
Yeah.
But the two exit the place with Dean laughing at the incident. Later, they try to use Raphael's vessel to communicate with the archangel. Eventually, Raphael arrives at a house Dean and Cass are staying at. Now, I didn't totally understand this part. So they go to Raphael in the hospital. They light a ring fire around him because it's basically a phone call for Raphael to re-enter the body. And then they leave. So they leave the vessel in the hospital with the ring of fire around them, and then they cut to they're arriving back at the house. I didn't understand they just light the fire, and then you're like, and then now we go and we wait.
You mean I don't know, once they had him trapped?
Well, no. Once the first thing they do is they go to the hospital
and they do the oil ring, right,
around the vegetative state of Raphael, right, and he whispers in his ear, "Hey, it's Castiel. I'm waiting for you," and then they leave. Wouldn't you stay there at the hospital? Isn't he going to come there? How did they?
Oh, that's trippy. I thought that. Okay, man, I missed something. I thought they got zapped somewhere, or I thought the phone. Raphael answered it, and they were somewhere else.
No, you see them drive.
Well, then how does the oil circle transport with them?
Well, they poured a different one around him. I mean, they have a trap set for him at this house.
Place. Oh, you know what? I got confused. I kind of felt like I definitely got screwed up then.
They drive back. You see them driving back to this house.
Yeah.
They come in the door, and then he's there.
Right. For some reason, I thought that was an alternate universe type thing. Sometimes they get zapped somewhere else and they're in a different plane and now they're walking through. I thought it was that.
It felt a little bit like one of those things where you just have to sort of
go with it.
Get the information in, let us know that it's like a phone call. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they had to switch to a house because they could build that fight a lot better there.
Right.
Anyway, so they're able to trap Raphael, who tells them that God is dead and that Lucifer resurrected Castiel. Lucifer. So it was Lucifer that resurrected Castiel.
Yeah, bummer news for Castiel.
Yeah. So again, a great scene with wind blowing through the windows and wet and
it's a great scene.
And fire. Yeah,
and Demore Barnes is great.
Yeah, he's killing it.
That's Raphael.
Back at the bar, the hunters have returned, but they're one man down and they're not happy about it. They confront Sam about what's going on. He confesses that he started the apocalypse. They believe if they juice up Sam with demon's blood, he'll be able to defeat all the demons in the town. They fight and the hunters leave. Well, yeah, that's one sentence, but it's actually a huge fight. People are thrown over pool tables, and poor Lindsay, who had
a knife in her throat.
Yeah,
I know what she's thinking during the whole time. She's thinking, "It's a good thing Keith is hot." She thinks his name is Keith.
So Dean and Castiel are in the Impala, and Dean reassures Castiel to keep looking for God if he believes he is alive. Dean says he feels good despite being away from his family. He's never laughed this hard, he says. Back with Sam, in another dream, he gets another visit from Jessica, who is actually Lucifer in disguise.
Which is a great reveal. We know it's coming. We know something weird's about to happen.
Yeah.
But
great reveal.
Great reveal. Early visual effects, morphing technology that works really well. And Mark Pellegrino is great. And he's always
great. And the whole time that I was waiting for Pellegrino because I knew he was going to be in it. So when he finally, it's a great scene, and they're both.
Adrian is so great leading up to Mark coming in there. Like all three actors.
Yeah.
You had Jared Padalecki, Adrian Pilecki, and Mark Pellegrino all just crushing it, and all those sequences.
So Lucifer tells Sam that Sam was always meant to be his vessel. And Sam adamantly says he will never say yes. I have a couple Rob's dumb notes here, and that's the end of the episode.
Oh, boy.
But one is you really hear Jensen's accent in the car with Castiel at the end there when he's like, I've never laughed this hard with you, and you're not that much fun. He says it sounds so Texas. He says,
really?
With you, and you're not even that much fun. It's very Texas.
That's funny. I didn't pick up on that. That's great.
And the other one thing that I had to stop and think about is Sam says to the guys, they're like, we'll be back for you. And he's like, yeah, and you don't even believe I won't even be here when you come back. Like it's a double negative. And I had to literally do the math to see what he said.
Doesn't he mean I'll be waiting? And he's basically saying like, I'll be here, you sons of guns.
He goes, don't even think that I won't be here. So I had to stop and say, okay, so think that I will be here. Got it. Okay. It's a double negative. I had to cross out the.
That's funny.
But those are my dumb notes. But and that's the episode.
That's the episode in a nutshell, courtesy of Rob Benedict. And now that segues us into Rob and Rich ratings.
I really like this episode. I thought everyone does a fantastic job. I have to give it some kind of ranking that it's not like top 10 episodes of all time, but it's really good. J. Miller Tobin directed the hell out of it, and it's acted really well. It's really funny, but I feel like I can't give it a full Kenny Loggins 1980s.
All right. Well, what are you going to do then?
Well, maybe I'll just give it a freshly starting out Kenny Loggins, early 70s.
Loggins Messina, or before he worked with Messina?
Let's give it a Loggins and Messina Loggins.
Okay, that's still pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm going full Stapleton. I'm veering from you on this one, buddy. I loved the origin of the Dean Castiel relationship. I thought it was so engaging to have those two start building that rapport. That yes, maybe, you said that Misha had said it felt like it was a bridge too far. I didn't see that as a viewer. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I felt their connection sort of solidifying in a fun way that felt real and not hyper dramatic.
Look at Kenny Loggins from 1970. I mean, it looks like Jesus.
He does look like Jesus. Well, you remember that cartoon I sent you guys? They're like, who invited Jesus? Who invited Kenny Loggins to the Last Supper? So I'm going full Loggins, though, because I also feel like Jared is great in the bar, and the relationship with Lindsay is great, and his torment he feels when he's seeing Jessica in the bed every time. Those scenes are great. He's tormented by the hunter showing up, and you see he's torn. He wants to go, but doesn't want to go. And then when they show up with the demon blood, his angst and anger that comes out in that whole sequence, having to fight guys who are his buddies, that's heavy. And then Mark Pellegrino and the scene between Jared and Mark Pellegrino, which is just lights out. The segue from Adrian to Mark, and then Jared confronting both of them. First questioning Adrian, or Jessica, why are you saying these things? And then now it's Mark, and now you got this big revelation. I just thought it was rock solid. And Demore Barnes, who was just great. Yeah, there were a couple of things that you and I stumbled across where I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really get that piece, but it was enough for me to still say, enough greatness in there for me to go full Stapleton.
That's why I think it sent me back to the 70s. But yeah, no, we've got full Stapleton and a 70s Jesus Kenny Loggins as our ratings. Well, we have such a treat. The director of the episode is one of our favorite guests of the podcast. It would be his final episode he directed for Supernatural, and we had the pleasure to sit down and talk with him about it. It's J. Miller Tobin. We have J. Miller Tobin with us again. Miller, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
Dude. So this is one of those ones where I was watching it and kind of had half an eye on the names and the credits. I was watching the show. And so when it was over, I went back. I'm like, who in God's name? And I'm like, of course. You're so good at what you do, dude. Like the opening sequence,
that's
the editorial. It's just mathematically.
That was really fun.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was just funny. Obviously, I haven't watched this in a long time, but designing that was really a lot was really cool. Coming up with that, all the sort of match cuts in the back and the forth, and the parallel
and
stories.
they weren't your standard match cuts.
Was perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
The trunk was perfect.
Fine.
The cutting of the lemons was perfect.
Yeah.
Like
the
there were things that were they weren't your standard issue, guy wipes camera and now we're somewhere else. Like it was much more detailed.
Again, it's always a lot of that was in the script, and we just you extrapolate and hopefully build on it and come up with something fun and interesting. I'm really happy with that. It turned out really, really well.
Yeah,
and again, it's a great way to draw the parallel between the two guys. They've gone their separate ways, and and yet they're still sort of running side by side in a strange way. So
yeah, it does show like an interesting passage of time too. But don't cut yourself short, man. It may have been in the script, but plenty of people would have done the simpler version, and that's a really cool, complex.
Well, in the business we call the Richard Speight version. The simple.
Easy. You know what's funny? I was going to make a joke at my own expense. I'm like, you didn't slap it together like I would have. But I decided I'll wait for Rob to put me down.
That's what I'm here for.
Rather than put myself
that
down.
was just hanging. That was.
Oh man! Just so we all took a swing at it. We're all like,
just hanging in the air there.
The other thing about this episode is there's a lot of comedy. I love the Castiel comedy.
It's funny. It was listen, there's no small episode of Supernatural, as we all know. But this one felt particularly big. The sequence with Raphael at the end was huge. Really challenging, just with all the special effects and the visual effects and all that stuff. And then the bar fight. there was just as always, lots and lots and lots of stuff.
There's a lot. There's always a lot. But okay, a couple of things that stood out to me. I feel like, and Rob, you can leave it here if I'm wrong, if I'm forgetting something. But to me, this was the first episode where I saw what the Dean Castiel relationship then looked like for the rest of the year.
It's funny. I watched it again this morning, and I kind of had the same feeling, which is this is sort of old Castiel, and he sort of starts to move into where he is for the rest of the series. Right? There's that shift in sort of the comedic tone in his relationship with Dean, and it's the Dean and Castiel show.
It really is.
And again.
But this didn't exist before.
Right, exactly.
This is a tonal shift. Yeah. Now, I obviously know that some of that must have been in the script. Was any of that something like the personal space bit?
Yes.
Is that scripted, or is that you guys on the day?
I don't remember.
It felt like an improv.
It did.
Just because the way it was blocked and he turned and there was that beat.
That long beat. And again, this is what Jensen is just a master at.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to, he barely moves a muscle, and yet you're just laughing your ass off already.
Jensen has a take at the end too during the when they leave Raphael in the storm and everything, and Misha says this, and he's like, what he said, and then he does that sort of like, I gotta get out of here.
He did one of those like hi exits where you're almost to like and Soupy Sales as Dean.
Exit stage left. But again, the truth is, you just let those two guys start riffing. I mean, then again, they'd known each other long enough now that they, and I think they were very well aware that this was kind of a shift in tone, and they had the chance to start to play with it a little bit. And again, as always, as good actors do, it was subtle and it was easy, and it,
I just think it's cool that you got to be the guy to sort of set that framework.
Yeah.
Obviously, the actors are doing a ton of that work too. But again, lesser hands could have gotten in the way of what turned into.
As I always like to say, I just get out of the way and let them do what they do best.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on, if you're handed a storyline where we're trying to get Castiel to lose his virginity, I mean, how can you lose? It's like,
exactly, man. There's some lines in this script too that you just go. I mean,
could they do that today?
Like you pause and just take
the one that made me
back.
laugh out loud today was especially just in context of what's going on now, which is when humans really want something, they lie. That's how you become president.
yeah. That was a little too timely for my liking. It's a great episode. Here's a question: Demore Barnes. Did you have a hand? For starters, he crushed it.
Demore's amazing. I'd actually worked with Demore on the unit, and I don't remember having a hand in casting him. Was this his first appearance?
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Well,
so it would be you, right?
I must have been involved. But again, I knew Demore from, I had done the show called The Unit, which was a sort of special ops show that he played a solo. But he's an amazing guy and an amazing actor.
Yeah, he is an amazing guy. Rich and I got a chance to know him convention 10 years ago.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Remember Rich?
Yeah,
he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, no, great guy. I actually ran into him in New Orleans doing Winchesters as well. He was down there doing something. But he is just one of those dudes where you're watching this and he's in the chair and he's incapacitated.
Completely.
And when he
becomes Raphael,
is standing in that room and speaking, it's not the voice you expect. It's not, there's nothing going on in that scene that you're going,
Where did that come from?
You didn't see that coming. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, as always, I mean, the guest casting on this was extraordinary. I mean, Adrian Palicki and Mark Pellegrino and Demore Barnes. I mean, and I really loved Emma Bell, who played Lindsay. I mean, I think
she was great.
Yeah.
They were all great. I mean, it was again just a
Jared. I think Jared does some great work in this episode. I love.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and again, it's interesting because and again, you guys know better than I do, but it feels like we're in the beginning of one of the big sort of lore seasons. Like we're getting into one of those like season-long storylines as opposed to sort of episode of the week. And I know it flip-flops, it alternates, but this is between the end of season 4 and the beginning of season 5, we're really kicking off the whole pursuit of God and the Lucifer on the loose and all of setting all of that up, which is which carries us for years to come, really.
Yeah.
I thought so. Moments of Jared's greatness in this episode, there are several. I thought he played the all shucks of it was great at the beginning. Like, don't look at me, I'm just going to do my job. Head down, that kind of thing. And to your point, Emma Bell did a great job being the sort of penny for his thoughts kind of energy.
Boy, lots of questions from that one. At a certain point, I was like, okay, hold on. You don't have to know everything.
Slow down. But then also the Jared's turn when his buddies come in. Like, and before he turns, sorry, not when they bring the demon blood out, but when like Scott and those guys are in the room and they're almost outing his identity.
Yeah.
That's a great scene, and you sort of see. It was also really interesting. The hunters, and I'd be interested to know how much of this is you or just makeup and work. Like, it's obviously a conversation. When they come in the room, they look like they were hunting in the parking lot. Like, they look like they are tough, dirty and sweaty,
and nasty, and just like
nasty. And it's a great move because it shows for Lindsay. She's going,
how do you know
that group? Friends with that guy?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like, these are buddies?
Yeah.
It wasn't just guys in flannel shirts. Like, their hands were dirty, And I thought that was, how much of that was discussed in advance?
I think, I don't remember it being, I think that it was deliberate to make them very rough and tumble, for sure. Again, for that exact reason, to sort of set them as a counterpoint to Sam and to set up the stakes for Sam. Like, where, what was the world he was trying to get away from? But when they walk in the door, absolutely, they look like they're ready to throw down right as soon as they walk across the threshold.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And it works great to watch his sort of reticence play, and even the internal jousting Jared demonstrates when they bring out the vial of blood. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really strong work from Jared because a lot of it's not on the page. It's in the
Well, it's about, he brings all that backstory not to life. He brings all that backstory to the surface. As soon as the demon blood comes up, you just see all of that on, start to ripple for him. And that's where Jared's an amazing actor, because you do feel those ripples all the time with him. There's always that sense of history, that sense of past that he somehow manages to infuse into most scenes. Like, you never forget that Sam was out of the business in the very beginning of the show, right? I mean, that's always the tension that he brings into that stuff, which is, I was born into this. I didn't ever want to be in it. And, I got out of it, and somehow I am again, in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I'm, and then this episode sort of mirrors all that again, which is he's trying to get out of it again, and he just can't.
Yeah.
He just can't.
Yeah. And
it's the famous line from The Godfather. Every time they, they pull me back in.
Yeah.
You're going to do a better Pacino than I am, so I'm going to let you.
I don't know about that.
Just hold that thought. We're coming right back.
Hey everybody, Richard Spate Jr. here, and if you know one thing about this guy, it's that I love boots. I wear them all the time, and that's why I love Tecovas, because they are the real deal. These boots are Austin designed, Texas tested, and handmade down in the boot-making capital of the world, Leon, Mexico. Tecovas are all about style, comfort, and tradition. And they're not just about boots. Tecovas is Western to their core. They offer a bunch of other head-to-toe Western staples, like trucker jackets, the perfect jeans to go with your boots, performance pearl snaps, cowboy hats, bandanas, you name it, they got it, and they will get you outfitted. Tecovas believes in Western for all, and you can feel it when you go into the store. You'll walk in, you're going to be greeted like family, unless you don't like your family, in which case you'll be greeted by people nicer than your family. They'll offer you a boot shine, unless you're wearing sandals, and they'll even hand you a drink. And it'll be the hard stuff if that's what you want. Rob Benedict, I'm looking at you. And right then and there, you can get custom fitted for a brand new pair of boots. You can even get custom leather stamping or branding that'll make those brand new boots truly one of a kind. All you got to do is stop by Tecovas and get into your new boots today. But Rich, I can't make it into a store. They got you covered. Just visit Tecovas.com. That's Tecovas.com. They offer free shipping on all boots as well as free returns and exchanges, and they ship right to your door. So get on over to Tecovas.com and find your new favorite pair of boots today.
Hey guys, it's Rob. So check this out. I'm very pleased to announce that we have a new super sponsor. That's right, Marvel Strike Force. So Marvel, the one and only Marvel, has a mobile game, and it's a comic book fan's dream. Marvel Strike Force it's a mobile squad RPG that allows you to battle with your favorite team of superheroes and supervillains in a fight to save the universe against threats like Doctor Doom and Apocalypse. So your goal is to power up your favorite characters, and you complete missions, and then you unlock fun stuff like gear and other resources, and then you beat other players in a PvP, player versus player mode, such as Alliance War or Real-Time Arena. So as I record this, they're enjoying their 6-year anniversary. So you know what that means? Free stuff. Free stuff just for signing up via the unique link in the description. So the anniversary consists of weekly events and bonuses, and if you complete each event, you can receive special rewards and skins. So make sure you log in every day, each week. You take advantage of all the new characters that are being released specifically for this event. This will be Marvel Strike Force's most generous event to date, so don't miss out. We've received a unique promo code for every new user, so please follow our link in the description and use the promo code MAXPOOL. That's MAXPOOL. All right. Thanks once again to Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring this episode. Thanks for listening, everybody, and now back to the episode. together.
Yeah. I know that's
significant.
Yeah.
Okay, now you got to tell me what that's like from a directing standpoint, because obviously there's a lot of tomfoolery and reining each other in when those two dudes are together. Is it better or worse or harder or easier?
Yeah.
Well, again, it was such a. I mean, the Cass and Dean show was such a rich storyline, and again, we shot big chunks of that. I remember that we found the location where the bar and the little restaurant where the Lindsay and Sam have dinner, the little diner. That was all like an abandoned motel or something. So we just took it over, and we were there for a couple of days or 3 days or something.
Oh, wow.
A lot of stuff at the bar. And then we sort of wrapped all that up, and then we go off and shoot, the rest of the episode, which was, the Cass and Dean side of things.
Right.
What I mostly remember about that, the bar fight was that stuff's always challenging, but it was, again, working with pros, and we have all the help in the world that we can need from Lou and the stunt coordinator and all that. I mean, it was, that was fine. The really challenging part was that whole scene with Raphael at the end, because we're dealing with real flame,
rain,
and the rain and the windows and the wind, and, and it's just, and we were on stage. So it was.
So that was all real flame.
Well, it was interesting. It was if you actually see the flame touching the floor, then it was CGI, and we tried to avoid that as much as we could. We tried to establish it, but we had flame bars for almost everything else. I mean, if there's flame in the foreground, or if you're seeing light on their faces, that was all real. That was all real fire, because it looks different. It looks better. It looks different. I can see it. I don't know.
Yeah,
and then you have like wind machines blowing.
Oh yeah. We had wind machines and a ton of rain. You see how much water. I mean, the guys are soaked by the end of it.
Yeah.
I know. Did you ever play the joke of like, oh, they're soaking wet and the windows are blown, and you're like, forgot an insert of the hand. Let's go back to one and put the windows back and dry out the boys.
I think I would have found myself in the parking lot if I had.
I literally was watching that scene, and as soon as that happened, I was just really wrapped up in the scene because it's three great performers doing really great work. But I was also production hat rich, saw the windows blow, and I'm like, oh, that's a day. Oh, here we are. Like, oh, boy, I know that thought before. Like, do we blow the windows now? Do I have everything I need before I blow the windows?
One more time. Let's just go down the list. Make sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you mentioned the stunt sequence, like around the pool table, like that was a big dance to do.
Yeah. Again, those two guys. I mean, those three big guys. Having a big brawl. I mean, again, but these guys are so good at it. I mean, again, it's not.
Were those?
It takes time, and it takes some good choreography. But
were those other hunters? Were they just actors?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Scott. I mean, I know Scott Campbell's an actor.
Scott?
Yeah.
He's the main guy.
Yeah, the guy who does most of the talking.
I have to believe I'm sure we had doubles again, although it's been a while, so I don't really remember, but I'm sure we did for like the big, the big falls, the big, throws and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But again, those guys are so physical. And I mean, Jared obviously is a pro at all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's extremely, extremely good that way.
Yeah. Weirdly so. They all are.
It just takes time. Those things they're just, again, you have to make sure that everything works and it makes sense. And, I hate losing geography in the middle of a fight. That's something that always drives me crazy, because to me, that feels lazy. Like if you get to a point where you don't know where everybody is and like where they are in the room, then it just starts to feel like a blender, and it doesn't.
How do you address that?
A lot of it's in editing, but it's just how you shoot it in terms of making sure that one piece of action leads to the next one, so that you're picking up or overlapping for each of those. So it becomes a little more sequential than
right.
And I think this is a good example of that. I mean, I think you feel like where everybody is in the room pretty much through the whole thing.
Do you ever? We might have asked you this before, but do you ever storyboard?
I had to do storyboard. I don't remember storyboarding this. Again, on Supernatural, you're lucky because you have such a strong stunt department. I mean, they generally rough in those fights in advance, and if you have the chance, a lot of times you can go see a rehearsal and sort of see what they've got in mind, and then you sit and then you lock it down on the day. And once it's locked in, then it's a matter of again repeating it, and shooting it, and keeping track.
Right.
Do you do masters of the fight?
Try to, as best you can. Absolutely. Again, that's where I go back to I like to know where everybody is. And again, if you can get wide enough to get, again, so that you can always pop out and sort of see where everybody's standing, and then you go in a little bit tighter for the bigger moves, or, and then you go even tighter and you stay with the actors' faces. So there's sort of a pattern to that, where the middle sizes and for the big throws and punches and falls tend to be the stunt, a mix of the stunt performers and the actors, depending on whose face you're seeing.
Right.
But again, you want to be loose enough or wide enough so that you can feel the physicality, and also just feel like, again, I know where I am in the room. I'm like,
right.
I'm sitting on the edge of the arena, as opposed to, if you're in the middle of it, then you can't tell where anybody is or what's happening. Then it's just a bunch of.
And I'm kind of asking this, but for your like everybody has their own style, I guess, here, but when you're doing a master, are you feeling like the actors can pull that off, or is that a stunt person?
Sometimes you do both. That's actually interesting. Sometimes you do both. Generally you will start with the actors and let them walk it through, and the stunt players are watching or have already rehearsed that, and you let everybody sort of get it up to speed. And then generally I like to then run it again with the stunt players, because sometimes you can mix and match that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But again, that's why these things take time. You're actually almost, a lot of times you're almost doing everything twice.
Right, and that's why pre-production is so important too, right?
Yeah,
to be
absolutely,
ready for all of it, and then have to make an audible on the day when it's raining or whatever. Right?
Yeah, right.
So we mentioned Demore Barnes as Raphael. So this is the first introduction of this archangel. Was there pressure or conversation to make it impactful, or just, the conversation about archangels compared to regular angels? Or
well, again, if regular angels are dicks, then archangels are what? Super dicks?
Super dicks. Yeah.
I mean, they're dangerous, right? I mean, they're I don't want to say evil. That's not the right word. I mean, if angels can be a little bit nasty, the archangels are deliberately and, so almost sadistic in a weird way, right? I mean, so they have this sense of, there's a heaviness to these guys that you don't feel with the other angels,
Don't you feel like I know you stopped yourself from saying evil, but there's certainly a sinister nature to what we're seeing so far.
That was the word. Sinister is the good word. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time we meet an archangel, you want to go in the other direction. Right?
Yeah.
And again, that's what Demore brought to the table so beautifully. It's like as soon as this guy opens his mouth, you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And even when he says he's not as creative as I am, you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but
this is not going to go well.
His introduction with the electric arc wings, that already tells you right away that you're dealing, you're a notch up from whatever else we've seen.
Right.
And we're used to seeing Castiel with his beautiful black shadow wings.
Yeah.
Right? And then, you've got this guy who's like, literally almost on fire. So
yeah. Crazy. Is there anything biblical about that? About him being on fire or any of that?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't remember what the pictures look like in the Bible. But yeah,
okay. So that's just how I thought that was something going on. Was that just what Michael was, or what the character was looking like at that moment, or was that energy being infused into...
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was I always thought as his sort of his angel wings.
Oh, that's clever. I didn't, I just, I missed that.
And then he's like, Jensen's like, Dean's like, then you put the lights out. And he was like, it's the whole Eastern Seaboard.
Right.
It's amazing. And we talked to Kripke about this. I love the idea that the angels are dicks,
Right.
It's such a great take on it.
Well, it makes you, I mean, it takes something that we all assume, whether you're religious or not, and turns it on its ear.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it even goes back to just, again, as you said, biblical. I mean, Lucifer is a fallen angel, right? I mean, he didn't fall that far. I mean, he was a super dick to start with, and now he's just, malicious and,
right.
But again, in the scene, Raphael says, we're going to do whatever we want, essentially. I mean, Daddy's gone, as far as I'm concerned, and we're going to do whatever we want.
Right.
And there's actually a really lovely moment there, which I had kind of forgotten, where you kind of see the pain. He's like, we just want paradise. Like they're not enjoying their existence.
Yeah.
They're not having a good time floating around in heaven and earth. They are not on board with the plan. They want out somehow.
Yeah.
And it was also interesting to see how little Jensen or Dean seemed to care about the phrase, you live in a godless universe.
Right.
He was like, meh.
Yeah.
Right. To them, that's a huge deal. To him, he was like,
but Castiel is emotional about it. It's
right.
You have a good cutaway to Misha in that moment when he says, I just want paradise.
You see on Misha's face that he actually understands that.
Yes, exactly.
That resonates very deeply for him. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a very emotional moment for Castiel because he does understand that. And he does feel the same. He wants to find God.
Yeah.
For all of those same reasons.
Yeah.
But he understands living in a world where you don't, or in a universe where you're not sure.
Right.
And now I'm getting philosophical, which is in a weird way what every human lives with, right? We don't know.
Right.
So, to suddenly bring that to the level of the angels are undergoing that same kind of uncertainty.
Right.
Is really interesting.
Yeah. What's it all about and existence and all that? Do you we've talked about this, I'm sure, but in pre-production, you get your script and then you go up for pre-production. Is there a day or a moment where you can sit down with anybody and go, okay, so what did I miss? You know what I mean? Like, because it's not like you can go on Netflix and get all caught up. I'm sure they could send you tapes.
Not in the day,
right?
Not back then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do as much homework as you can. But again, this was the beginning of such heavy. I mean, I'm sure this was episode 3, right? I mean, I'm sure I just had the first 2 scripts to read and not even.
Right, yeah.
There was nothing to watch, but I would have watched all of the previous seasons. So, I mean, I knew, but again, we know where we end up, which is Lucifer getting out of hell.
Right.
And then these first 3 episodes are what launched the storyline of the rest of it, which is, again, Dean is a vessel, and then we reveal that Sam is the vessel. And I mean, so there's a lot of world building in terms of what's going to happen in the rest of this.
And so is Kripke there for the initial meetings in pre-production, sort of going, this is what that means, and this is, you know what I mean? Because you're setting up a character like Raphael for the first time,
right?
Does Kripke
you have the concept meetings up front, and you have casting meetings. So you can talk about, you get into talking about character a little bit in those meetings, and then you have the tone meeting at the end, of course, where you just go through all of this as best you can,
right?
And that's when you pick the writer's brains. I'm pretty sure this is Jeremy Carver.
It was, yeah. But still under the guise of Kripke during season.
Absolutely,
5,
yeah. Absolutely, yeah, and I'm sure Eric was on the tone meeting. I mean, he generally was on those early in the early seasons for sure.
It just struck me because as an actor, it's that way. You don't know what's going on, and you have to ask the director or someone else questions to fill you in. But it just dawned on me as a director, you're going in also sort of you're supposed to know everything, and you're supposed to know how they've established in the last couple episodes. And back in the day, you're literally watching VHS tapes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There might have been a cut of one of those shows, but probably not.
Right.
Again,
So,
but again, that's part of what you do. I mean, to get to that point where you're ready to walk in and take over the storytelling for this episode, you have to do all of your homework. You have to do a tremendous amount of homework and try to figure all that out. And again, interestingly enough, and again on this show, it was you had both ADs, Kevin and Johnny Mack, were both so deeply invested in the show that they were always ones to turn to. You could always just turn to them and go, "What? What the hell is this? What happened here? When did this? What?" And they always knew. They always had it. Locked. So you always had that library standing next to you the entire time. So
Kevin was like a walking Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly.
Parksopedia. So they called him.
Really? That's what they called him?
Yeah, they called Kevin Parks Parksopedia. That was his standing nickname.
Amazing.
Right?
Do you know if there's any significance to the name Hoyt's Bar, the bar that Sam works at? Does that name Hoyt come from anything?
I don't know. Again, that's Jerry Wanick's
because I know a lot of times,
signature or something.
A lot of times there are Easter eggs in the naming of things.
Yeah, not that I remember. But again, that was a classic Supernatural bar. I mean, it was beautiful. Lots of dark, lots of neon, and perfect old school bar.
As opposed to the what do you call it? Where the women work, where they get the prostitutes.
The House of Ill Repute.
As opposed to that place, which had the bar was lit up. It was not.
It was all shiny.
Drinks a bit nicer.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a scene where Sam and Lindsay have sex.
I knew that Rob was going to hop all over this one. This had Robert Egg.
Why was that cut from the final episode? Is that true?
I don't know.
And who does he write a letter to
Exactly.
to try to get that footage?
How do we get that back?
Is that a scene that was shot?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember shooting that. I mean, I do. I mean, the bedroom scenes with Adrian and Jared, I remember very, very distinctly. Mm-hmm. And, it was interesting because, she was kind of a rock star at this point. I mean, I know had been in the show since the very beginning, but since she started, she was in the pilot. I mean, she was all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Friday Night Lights happened in the middle of all this.
Right.
So by the time this I think was her second, third, fourth episode, something like that. But I mean, she was a rock star at this point, so it was kind of interesting to have her show up, and everybody was like, "Ooh, here comes,"
Oh, wow.
She's so good too, man.
Wonderful.
She's a great actress, great person.
Yeah.
A lot of talent going on.
Absolutely.
With that woman.
No, really.
And the transition, which of course is coming, or you feel like it's coming.
You
did not disappoint.
Something's wrong. You just don't quite know what, right? You just
Well, that
did not.
That's
disappoint.
a great visual effect. That almost like that Michael Jackson video back in the day, where the
little face,
yeah. Well,
it's really well done. Nothing for nothing, but it looks like Mark Pellegrino's son. I couldn't believe how young Mark looked in that episode.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it
Just sitting
was
on the bed
it was a
looking up
minute
at Jared.
ago. When was it? This was
2008 or 9.
Yeah, it was 15 years ago. So
Yeah.
we all look
I know.
the same, thank God. But
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say one benefit about like looking old and crusty in your 20s is you just plateau. that was my goal, just wear myself out early, so there is no aging.
Rode hard, put up with.
That's yeah, exactly. But that's such a great transition. And great scene between Mark.
Well, I was going to say Mark
and
Mark
Jared.
It is that sort of the face of evil is benign. I mean, he's so relaxed. He just is so confident and calm.
So good.
And I got to say, Adrian sets that up perfectly.
She does.
Like her line
Absolutely.
reading right before that, like there's no reason, whatever the line is, like, no, there's no reason to try or whatever she says.
I'm pretty sure we worked that so that there was a nice performance transition there. Because she definitely shifts, right? I mean, there's definitely a shift from Jess to something's a little weird, like when he's behind her, like as soon as they sit up, there's definitely a shift in tone on her part, which
yeah, also just as a cinema nerd myself, as soon as she put her hand on him and started playing with his hair, I'm like, this isn't going to go well.
Something bad is going to happen.
Don't touch me, please. Really well done.
Such a fan of Pellegrino. I like watching the episode. Can't wait for his appearance. I'm like, oh, it's only 5 minutes left. It's got to happen soon.
Here it comes. Where is it? Come on, it's coming. It's coming.
He does such a great job, and the way, like you said, the acting transition of her into him, like he plays it kind of soft at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's so.
Again, and there was a really nice sort of segue between the two of them, right? He sort of starts with she moves towards his energy, and he picks that up, and then moves back into his. Yeah, that was really nice. And and again, the big revelation, of course, is again he's just what's amazing is he's just so. You feel like you almost feel sorry for Sam. It's like you can't see yet that this is a done deal.
Yeah,
100% you do.
So he's just like he's trying to. It's almost gentle. It's like Sam.
I don't know. Like I know stuff's on the page, but to me that feels very Pellegrino.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like very much an acting choice.
Absolutely. And and again, that's what's what's great about the lore of Supernatural is that here we're dealing with Lucifer, right? I mean, you're expecting horns and spiked tails and the fireworks and all that, and then here we have this super almost suave, very charming.
It's scarier.
That's right. The face of evil is benign, right? It's scarier when there's no palpable threat there because you fill in the blanks, right? As an audience member.
Yeah. Oh, so fun.
One of the things it says here on our info sheet is that this is your last episode of Supernatural.
You know what? It's funny. I was thinking. Yes, it is. Weirdly enough, I only did the 4, so this is the 4th of the 4 that I did.
Man, big impact player you are.
And it was a huge impact on me. I mean, this is a show that was just sort of seminal for my. This is a big part of my own. The way I feel about my directing career was this show. I mean, I so enjoyed the show, and really, and it's funny to think, I only did 4 episodes at the end of the day.
Wow.
Your episodes are outstanding. And that's not just because you're sitting here, we're talking to you. They're just all so good.
Well,
man.
thank you.
You're so good at what you do.
Thank you.
And this is maybe none of our beeswax, but it won't stop us from asking, why did not you return?
I'll tell you exactly why. Because, I mean, this was, again, 2010, roughly, I think.
Yeah.
And I got the job as the producer-director on Vampire Diaries in 2010 and moved. That's when I moved to Atlanta. So I was sort of off the market for that year and a half. And then when I went back to directing, Vancouver was the one place that I couldn't get to easily. So I kind of I wasn't available for like a season and a half. And then B, I sort of made a conscious decision because my son was really young at that point. He was 3, 4, 5. And no matter what I was doing, wherever I was working, I would come home on weekends to spend time with the family. And I couldn't do that if I was in Vancouver. So I didn't work in Vancouver for many, many, many years.
Oh, wow.
Because if I was gone, I was going to be gone for a month, right? Okay. I mean, that was the thing. So that's really the only reason. I mean, again, the production folks may have a different answer to that, but as far as I'm concerned,
I don't think they do. I think it's just by the way, dude, that's a really good reason.
Well,
that's a
admirable reason. I really regret not having done more just because I so love the show. And again, I watched every episode for the next 10 years because this was season 5 out of how many? 16?
15.
15. And I never missed a show. I just love the show. So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Director and fan.
Big time.
I mean, in many ways, you're a genius because you did these 4 big episodes where you were like knocked out of the park, and then you just effed off. So you could never be seen through the lens of a guy who
screwed anything up.
Exactly. Right.
Well, you're ahead.
Right before the bed o'clock, you're like, I'm out.
No, honestly, and this bums me out because, well, we'll have to have you back on just to talk about the show because, like, I love having you on this podcast.
Yeah, we'll just have to have you back on to talk about a different episode to analyze as a viewer.
Absolutely,
not
as a fan. I would love that
because, man, you're just such a delight to have on the podcast, and you're so intelligent about how you do it.
Well, thank you.
How you do
it's a
your
blast
work.
to talk to you guys.
Yeah, always.
Well, we're going to do it again, and you won't be able to tell us what it was like shooting it. We'll just analyze as expert reviewers.
That's perfect. I love that.
Thank you for doing this.
Well,
buddy.
thank you both.
Hey there, it's Misha Collins. If you're like me, you want a break from the sound of Richard Spade's voice, we'll be right back after this.
Thanks for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
Gosh, man, I love having that guy on here.
I'm
going to
gonna
be
miss
missed, which is why we have to come up with a way to get him back in here to talk about the show.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 10 more seasons. Surely we'll have a
Surely we'll
chance
come up
to
with
get,
something.
We'll get him back on. Yeah, lovely guy.
And just so good at his job. Such a creative, such an actor's director. I mean, obviously great camera work, great editorial pacing, but he just gets great performances. You can tell he connects with the performers. He's just good at that.
Yeah. I'm bummed that I never haven't gotten to work with him. Maybe he'll come out of retirement and
I know. I would
again.
say maybe down the road, but not if he's retired.
He's retired.
Yeah.
But great guy and a fan of the show, which is really fun.
That's awesome
to talk to about. All right. Well, now it's time for a segment that we like to call
Mythology.
So Raphael is one of 7 archangels mentioned in the Torah.
If you believe the Torah, and I guess we all do. So the stories of Raphael in the Torah include exorcising and defeating the demon Tobias, and in so doing, he heals and saves the bride-to-be.
In the apocryphal book of Enoch, he healed, in quotes, the earth when it was defiled by the sins of the fallen angels.
Man, when the fallen angels start defiling stuff, back away slowly. His name is derived from the Hebrew root word to heal.
He is considered the patron of travelers, the blind, happy meetings, nurses, and doctors.
Gotta tell you, I've had a lot of good meetings in my day, and I did not know they were thanks to Raphael.
Yeah. Huh. The patron of happy meetings.
Yeah, go figure. He's often depicted with a trumpet or a staff, or the obvious third choice, standing on a fish.
Wow. It's a real niche. Raphael's a real niche archangel. I have to say, I am yet to have a happy meeting while also standing on a fish. So
You haven't lived, my friend. You have not lived.
Yeah.
Blow a little trumpet and stand on a fish and meet with a group of people and have it be a success. That's really the hat trick.
Maybe grab some nurses.
Whoa, hey, ho, everybody.
Is it considered patron saint of nurses?
Uh-huh. My goodness.
He's the patron of nurse. I'm reading off the script.
Don't you patronize those nurses. Don't you dare. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to a segment that's just as fun as mythology, but has its own title with fun in it. And that's Fun Facts, Fun Facts, Fun Facts, Fun Facts.
The title of the episode refers to a 1970s children's record and TV show, Free to Be You and Me.
Do you remember that? I do not.
I do. It was like sort of, meant for kids. It's like happy, fun. I think people have done a lot of sort of parodies of it over the years. But yeah, I vaguely remember it. I remember more the parody of it than I do the thing.
Interesting. The FBI aliases Dean and Castiel use are from the movie Midnight Run, which was made in 1988, starring Charles Grodin, Robert De Niro, and Yaphet Kotto.
Great movie if you haven't seen it. Great movie. I don't know how it's aged, but terrific movie back in the day.
Great at the time, yeah.
Yeah. Castiel summons Raphael using the Enochian water cup invocation.
Like we have to be told that.
Yeah. I mean,
duh.
I don't know why that's... So, what, I don't know what the... Okay, sure. Okay.
It's a lot... It's a classier move than the other option, the Enochian water balloon invocation. Which is just childish.
Right.
It's just childish.
No, the water cup invocation, which it's tricky when you're doing it on the sidelines of a football game, but hey.
But if you're Nokian and you're thirsty, you're going to want the water cup invocation. When Castiel's reluctant about following chastity, Gene says, "Day in you," which is a Hebrew word that roughly translates to be grateful to God for these gifts. That's a trippy thing that Dean would know.
Yeah, when I noticed that, I was like, wow, I got to look that word up. Well, I wonder why he... How does Dean, I guess Dean just knows that.
I guess so. He's a well-traveled fella. I guess that's what it is.
I guess so. The Waterville deputy calls Dean Kolchak after he asked if Donnie Finnerman disappeared. Kolchak, the Night Stalker, was a 70s American TV series in which the main character was a reporter who investigates supernatural cases in a Monster of the Week format.
Man, I've never heard of that. Have you?
No, sir.
All right. We've been stumped a couple of times this episode. That's rare.
Yeah. Huh. Man, I need to do a Nokian water cup invocation and have a stiff drink. So it wasn't called the Night Stalker. It was called Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
I guess.
It's no wonder that show didn't go.
Between Free to Be You and Me and Kolchak, the Night Stalker, the 70s generated some weird-ass shows.
Yeah. You know? And we know a lot from the 70s.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I rarely feel like I'm going, a lot. But I've been stumped twice.
Well, you know what didn't stump us is this episode and this podcast.
That was great, man. Anytime we can get Miller Tobin on the show, it's a home run. And the episode was a home run. We loved it.
Yeah.
A lot of great stuff. Great conversations. Great work. Robert, great work from you.
Thank you. And you, Richard.
Thank you. Really... Steve Hine crushed it. And now it's Trey Booty's to ruin because we turned over to him. I'm kidding. Trey crushes it as always. So it's great. And this season's just going to be a freight train of awesome. So here we go.
Really excited. Really excited. All right. See you next time. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester, and Misha Collins as Castiel.
Guest stars include Adrian Palicki, Jim Beaver, Mark Pellegrino, Demore Barnes, and Emma Bell, and Scott Michael Campbell.
Free to Be You and Me was written by Jeremy Carver and directed by J. Miller Tobin.
Editing by Nicole Baer. Music by Christopher Leonards.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The original broadcast of this episode featured the following songs: Simple Man by Leonard Skinnerd.
Blues Won't Let Me Be by Left Hand Frank and his blues band.
Devil Sway by Swank.
This episode originally aired on September 24th, 2009.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Speight Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
Well, what's up, Booty?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SPN Then and Now.
Become a member of the podcast at www.patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. Well, I'm sure, Robbie, I'm sure you're assuming, as am I, that the Hoyt is a reference to Hoyt Axton, country songwriter and actor who penned the classic Joy to the World.
Yeah.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
I would not have gone there, but thank you. I'll take that.
Well, the stories of Raphael included in the Torah involve exercising and defeating the demon Tobias, healing and saving a bride-to-be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought there was going to be more. That's written that common. Okay. I just know where Rob's brain goes, and he always goes to the old-time country legends.
Nope.
I'm assuming.
Robopedia?
Hoyt Axton. Robopedia.
You don't want to go into the Robopedia.
Bitopedia.
A lot of ellipses.
Nobody does. Or the Wikipedia. You don't want to go into the Dickopedia.
No. Wholly different story.
And don't Google that either. Wait a minute, I didn't put that together. And I know you just read that on the sheet, but nonetheless, I didn't put that together.
That's Richard's job in this podcast, to make sure people know how the meat is made.
And now, if you'll excuse me, I've had too much Nokian water cups. I've got to go take a daddy break.
Story Mill Media.
You know how to book flights and hotels. All you're missing is a tool to plan the travel experiences you'll have once you arrive. That's why you need Viator. Book guided tours, excursions, and more in one place. There are over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from, so you can find something for everyone. And Viator offers free cancellation and 24/7 customer support for worry-free travel. Download the Viator app now and use code Viator10 for 10% off your first booking in the app. Find travel experiences for you. Do more with Viator.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.